Hi, I'm Andrew Bailey, and thanks for joining us today for something a little bit special. In fact, it's so special, it's all a bit top secret. There's something happening in this building just behind me that you're invited to, and very few other people. So, where are we? Well, we're in St John's Wood in London. We are at one of the world's most famous recording studios, and we're at a zebra crossing. It's Abbey Road. You know, this place is absolutely amazing. Since 1931 they've been making music here, and it's not just about the Beatles, you know. Loads of artists like U2, Radiohead and Oasis have been here.
I guess along with Elvis's bedroom, this is probably one of the most important rooms in rock and roll and entertainment. This is where the Beatles did most of their work, you know, which, you know, is quite a few years ago now, and yet most of the bands are still sort of borrowing from. No one's ever been more inventive, so it feels a bit like a sort of working museum with this. I've never really been here before. It's got a really incredible atmosphere, and all the original recording equipment, if you look around, it's fantastic. It's still working, and it sounds so much richer as well. So to be here, right on the floor, where so many albums that we love are still playing now, yes, it's like an honour to be here. Well, I think most commercial radio stations, you know what's like, the jingles sound, some of them sound really good, but most of them sound really crap, to be honest. So I think, you know, if we are going to be true to our word and be about proper music and real music, then our production and our jingles should be, you know, try and aim to be. Of course, we can't make it quite as good as the Beatles, but we can at least try and be in the same room that they were in, maybe get some of their magic, so that hopefully, you know, the bits in between the songs sound a bit better than they could do right now. And often on, especially commercial radio, I think it's particularly bad, it jars a lot, you know, because you can play all this great music and then the bits in between, all these sort of whiz bangs and sort of computers generate sound effects. It sounds quite screechy and metallic, and it just sort of irritates, you know, whereas I think, you know, what we're trying to do is make something that's a bit real and, you know, as interesting, as varied as the music. Fun little microphones here, they're amazing, aren't they? You also wonder how many, like, you know, isn't it, if these walls could talk, how many, these stairs you've got here, this massive long sort of stairway, how many tantrums, you know, people...
That's just from you?
Just me, just now. And mainly Geoff, to be honest, as well. He can be a bit difficult. You know, how many, and then we just saw this little room off the back there, which we weren't even meant to be in, where they used to do a lot of the echo sound effects and reverb. Whereas now that's all done by sort of studio trickery, which they didn't have that moment then. You also, I think it makes you appreciate, like, I really want to play some Beatles stuff tomorrow now, because you'll realise then how hard they must have worked to get all the different tracks. You know, it must have taken days of painstaking sort of detail over it. So, having said that, the stuff we probably do here now for the station will probably sound shit. But look, at least we're prepared to try, okay?
It's just so exciting, you know, every square metre just reeks of history. You can smell it. You walk down the steps and, you know, you go from being in quite a sleek modern control room, which of course it has to be because it's a working studio, and then you come down here and you don't feel like you're walking into a museum. It's definitely a working space, but it's you know, you're just very aware that you're standing on the shoulders of what's gone before you, you know. Having lived with the Beatles like I have for so long, just this room, probably more than any, is just so intrinsically linked with the Beatles. Thinking of them, you know, first coming down from Liverpool before Ringo was in the band and doing their audition for George Martin in here, to them coming down and recording the first album in this room, which they did in one day, to just the journey that followed, the journeys in sound, and going from being a jangly pop group to being just this incredibly inventive band. And I don't know, like 90% of those records were made in this room. It's just really exciting. I love the thinking that's going into it, you know, because you could use any old room, especially now. People make records and LPs and radio station jingles and things in the bedroom, but it's just nice that we're so conscious of, you know, the legacy of rock and roll and the new rock and roll that we're bringing to people, that we're putting a bit of the DNA, they're calling it, putting a bit of the DNA into the sound of the radio station, and to come and do it in a place like this, I think it's a really special thing. I'm such a bad player, I can rarely get through a whole song, but I do like to muck about, so I imagine I'll be striding in here when the musicians are playing. So hold up a minute, I've got a better idea. Try this one. What can I do on this?
So the reason we're all here then is to help the radio station create its sonic identity. Sounds a little bit grand, but actually it's really very simple. It's about how the radio station sounds on air. Now I'm here in the control room with the production guys who are going to make it happen.
The music that you hear on the radio stations that makes up the jingles, the news, the traffic beds, all of those things. It's almost like the audio sign above a shop. When you walk into a famous shop, you know exactly where you're going. Well, radio doesn't have visual when you're listening to it on the radio. So that's basically what a jingle or a theme will do. So when Kristen O'Connell's on The Breakfast Show, you'll hear the tune that you associate with Kristen. You know where you are. It helps you know what radio station you're listening to. And that's the real purpose of a sonic identity. Some people call them jingles, some people call them themes. It's really important to get it right, especially when we're recording at Abbey Road Studios. So it's obviously we're on a set session time. We've got to be absolutely on the case. The musicians are brilliant. The music director and the arrangers, everyone that's working here today is absolutely brilliant. But it'll still be a shock because suddenly this new sound of the radio station is going to come out of the speakers, and really pretty much nobody knows what that's going to sound like until the guys start playing. Of course we do, but that's the whole point. The process that we've been through to get to this point is that we've had obviously many meetings at the radio station about what the bosses and the DJs want the station to sound like. And then we've been in the studio, myself and Roger Dexter, who's the music director for Music 4, have been in the studio putting down ideas and getting ideas together and feeding them back to the radio station. So a lot of the guys at the radio station have heard the rough, almost like a demo or a rough cut. And the purpose of today is now to take those rough cuts and bring them up to the standard of a commercial record, the records you play on the radio station. People are bombarded with tunes, so coming up with something that's absolutely right for the radio station, that is absolutely unique and original, it's a tough job and there's a lot of restrictions, but you just keep going, you keep coming up with ideas, and eventually something hits, and then you get the one you really love and you play it to the client, the radio station, they hate it, you have to start again. It's just the process, it's what we do.
Was absolutely amazing. Geoff was like a kid in a sweet shop, wasn't he? All those musical treats, he didn't quite know what to do with himself. But you know, there's so much musical history in this building that I can't think of a better place to create the future fabric of this brand and the sound of the radio station. We really hope you like what you hear. Don't forget, as ever, to let us know your thoughts and comments through the website.